Just recently I experienced a scintillating scotoma, a perhaps scary sounding name for a relatively common and not life-threatening condition. It's a type of visual symptom of migraine. It's nothing to worry about and I don't need to see a doctor, but I thought it might be interesting to share the experience and talk about how I manage the symptoms when this happens. This video contains some flashing and flickering imagery. If you're sensitive to that sort of thing, this might just not be the video for you. I used to get these quite frequently, typically occurring in relation to exhaustion or mental stress or both, but this is the first time I've experienced one since I left my IT job and went full-time on YouTube. Like before though, this one correlates with a period of greater than usual workload and activity and tiredness. The first symptom I noticed was difficulty reading text on my computer screen. There was just a small patch in the centre of my vision where I couldn't perceive detail. Not exactly blurred, more sort of missing. Like the after effect you might get if you accidentally look at a bright light source, and at first I thought maybe I'd just glanced at something too bright, but there were no dark spots in my vision or bright patches when I closed my eyes, just an area where my vision wasn't functioning properly. I also realised it was more than that when the patch acquired a sort of twinkling border. I recognised immediately what was happening, and I started a simple treatment regime that I find works for me. I'll describe what that is and why I think any of it works for me in a moment. Anyway, after a couple of minutes, the spot in my vision had expanded to a lopsided crescent shape, which continued to grow over the course of the next half hour or so. Sort of blurry and tired and difficult to perceive detail in the middle. And at the left side of the shape, there was a pattern of flickering and flashing, overlapping zigzag stripes. And outside of the zigzag area was a region of disturbed vision, something like looking through broken glass, but also crawling or changing, like ripples in a pond maybe. After a total of about 50 minutes, the brighter and flickering parts of the shape expanded off the edge of my visual field and were gone. And another 30 minutes or so, the blurry, fatigued effect had also faded and my vision had returned more or less to normal, but leaving me with a dull headache and a sort of tiredness like you might experience after being out in the sun too long. These symptoms lasted from late morning until the end of the day. The first time this ever happened to me, it was a bit frightening because I'd never heard of it before, and with something like this where you literally can't help but see the symptom progressing and growing and you don't know what it is, that can lead to all sorts of worrying assumptions. But as far as I've been able to tell, this is not something that causes or indicates damage or injury. It's more like just a malfunction of a complex system. Now, I said I would describe my management routine when I get one of these. What I do is as follows. Turn off the computer and stop work, mostly because I can't see properly anyway when this happens, and certainly would not be safe to drive or do anything important while the visual disturbances are at play. TMI, I go to the toilet, but this is just to make sure that I'll be able to rest without needing to get up again. Then I took painkillers, even if there's no pain. Nothing elaborate, just paracetamol together with ibuprofen. From past experience, I know that when that visual aura reaches the periphery of my visual field, I will experience a sudden and quite severe headache, which I can usually mitigate almost completely if I get the painkillers into my system at the first onset of visual symptoms. I ate a spoonful of peanut butter, a sweet biscuit and a packet of salted crisps, washed down with coffee. Caffeine is known to improve the uptake and effectiveness of painkillers, so that's the reason for that, but some people may find caffeine to be a migraine trigger for them, so what works for me here might not be the best recommendation for everyone. The snacks are just to cover the bases of blood sugar, electrolytes and a little bit of sustenance. Not sure it really makes any difference to the condition at hand, but again it does ensure that I'll be able to lie down and rest continuously for an hour or two without needing to get up again. Then I turned off my phone and lay down on the sofa sipping a pint of water. Hydration doesn't seem to make much difference, but I figure it can't hurt. I found that as the visual symptoms progressed, closing my eyes for a minute or two at a time, then opening them and looking at different things, such as a blank wall for a minute, then out of the window for a minute, seemed to help. I don't think it affected the progress of the symptoms so much as made them more tolerable until they passed of their own accord. I found that if I keep my eyes closed or open or looking at one thing all the time, the aura seems to build in intensity until it's really quite disturbing. Changing the view seems to keep that in check at least a little bit. Once the main part of the visual disturbance is finished, I find that my sight is still affected a little bit and I don't feel 100%. Overall, the after effects are very much like the feeling of having had too much sunshine, a sort of dazzled, itchy feeling in the eyes, general tiredness and fatigue, and a feeling similar to dehydration. It usually puts me out of action for a couple of hours at least, and if I can, I'll stop work for the rest of the day. So that was my most recent experience with scintillating scotoma and what I do when it occurs. I'm interested to hear of other people's experiences with this and if you are a sufferer, what you've tried in terms of management of the symptoms. If you've never had one of these, I hope this phenomenon never happens to you. But if you are unfortunate enough to experience this in the future, I hope that this video will have taken away some of the fear that you might experience if you didn't know what it was. I hope this has been interesting, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.